Raider Nation, buckle up, because today's video is going to stir the pot. Things are heating up in Las Vegas, and with the trade deadline creeping closer, all eyes are on who might be packing their bags before the clock runs out. The Raiders are sitting at 2 wins and 5 losses, and honestly, it feels like a season that's been teetering on the edge from day one. The roster has talent, no doubt about that, but there's something off in the chemistry, and when that happens, front offices start picking up the phone. You know how it goes. When a team's struggling to find its rhythm, every player becomes a possible trade chip. Now, let's get one thing straight before we dive into names. I'm not saying the Raiders are officially shopping anyone. What we're talking about today is which players might attract attention from other teams who could realistically be on the move, and which guys might just have played their last snap wearing silver and black. And if we're being honest, there's one player that stands out more than the rest. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. Jakobi Meyers. But before we get there, let's break down what's really going on in this locker room and why trade chatter is buzzing the way it is. The truth is, the Raiders' defense has been inconsistent. There are flashes of brilliance, moments where you can see potential, but they're surrounded by too many breakdowns and missed assignments. It's not all on one player or one coach. It's the product of a system that hasn't fully clicked yet. When that happens, players start to feel the pressure. Veterans wonder if they'll still be around next season, and young guys worry if they'll even get a real shot to prove themselves. That's the type of environment that breeds trade rumors. Let's start with the defensive side of the ball, because that's where a lot of attention is turning. Adam Butler, for example, is one of those names that keeps popping up in conversations. He's got experience, he's reliable in the middle, and even though he hasn't been performing at the same level we saw in past seasons, teams across the league are always looking for interior linemen who can plug gaps and generate push. He's 31, still got fuel in the tank, and while the Raiders might not want to move him, the math might make sense. If another team comes calling and offers a mid to late round draft pick, especially since part of his salary is already handled, it wouldn't be shocking to see Las Vegas listen to the offer. Then there's Tyree Wilson, and let's be honest, his name always sparks debate. He's that kind of player who's shown flashes, moments where you think, okay, this guy can be special, followed by plays that make you scratch your head. Drafted 7th overall back in 2023, Wilson came into the league with big expectations, but he's already been through multiple coaching regimes. That's not easy for a young player trying to find his footing. The question is whether the Raiders still see him as part of the future. They'll have to make a call on his 5th-year option soon. And with his development stuck in neutral, you start to wonder if another team might take a gamble on his upside. A change of scenery can do wonders for players like that. And while we're still on defense, another name that can't be ignored is Malcolm Kuntz. The guy's got talent, no doubt about it, but this season has been tough. He hasn't been the same disruptive force we saw flashes of before. He's still young, but coming off an injury and having to adapt to yet another system, it's been a grind. The market for pass rushers is always hot, and even if he's not at his peak right now, there are teams out there who believe they can unlock that potential. The Raiders could probably get a 5th or 6th round pick in return, which might not sound like much, but when you're trying to build depth through the draft, every pick counts. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, Maxx Crosby, the face of the Raiders, the heartbeat of this defense. The guy plays with more passion and energy than anyone on the field. I'll say this up front, I do not think the Raiders will trade him. Everything I've heard, everything that's been said, points to him being untouchable. But that doesn't stop other teams from calling. Every single general manager in the league would love to have Crosby on their roster. He's that kind of player who changes a locker room's culture. The reason his name even comes up is because of how his contract is structured. It's front-loaded, which makes it easier to move him down the line. Still, any move involving Crosby is something that would happen years from now. Not today. He's too valuable, both on and off the field. So that's the defensive picture. A lot of speculation, some real possibilities, and 1 or 2 long shots. But if we shift gears and look at the offensive side of the ball, things get even more interesting. Because that's where the real trade drama might go down. The first name that jumps off the page is Aidan O'Connell. Yes, he's been hurt. Yes, he's on injured reserve, but hear me out. The Raiders' quarterback situation is messy right now. Geno Smith hasn't lived up to expectations, and the crowd is getting restless. Every time O'Connell's name is mentioned, fans light up the comments asking when he's going to start. But that's not happening under Pete Carroll's watch. They brought in Geno for a reason, and they traded for Kenny Pickett to back him up. The coaching staff has made it clear that O'Connell is not part of the short-term plan. That alone could make him a trade piece. There are always teams looking for reliable backups, and if Las Vegas could get a late-round pick for him, that might be a move worth making. And then there's Dylan Parham. This one's tricky. He's a versatile offensive lineman, can play guard, can shift to center, even slide to tackle if needed. Teams love that kind of flexibility. He's in the final year of his contract, and while he's been steady, the Raiders have a few young linemen waiting in the wings. Parham was drafted under the previous regime, which sometimes means the new staff isn't as invested in keeping him around long-term. If a team out there comes calling with a sixth-round offer, it's not crazy to think the Raiders might take it. And that brings us to one of the most talked-about young players on the roster, Jackson Powers-Johnson. I can't stress this enough. This is the type of player you build around. He's strong, smart, physical, and plays with that nasty streak you love to see in an interior lineman. But for some reason, this coaching staff just hasn't shown him the love he deserves. It's baffling. There's constant competition around him, and it feels like they're not giving him the same security that other starters have. That's raised eyebrows, not just among fans, but around the league. Teams are paying attention. If someone came in with an offer, say a fifth-round pick, I could see the Raiders listening, even though I think that would be a massive mistake. If it were up to me, I'd value him at least as a second-round talent. Losing a player like that would send the wrong message about where this team is headed. And finally, let's circle back to where all this started, Jakobi Meyers. The player everyone's talking about. Reports have been swirling for days, and from everything I've heard, the situation is pretty clear. Meyers wants out. He didn't play against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's becoming obvious that his time in silver and black might be coming to an end. He's a professional, though, and he said that if the team doesn't move him, he'll keep doing his job. But make no mistake, he's looking for a new contract and a fresh start. And with multiple teams reportedly showing interest, it's hard to imagine a scenario where he's still a Raider after the deadline passes. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say there's a 90% chance that Jakobi Meyers gets traded before the deadline. And honestly, it makes sense. He's still got value. He's still productive. And if the Raiders are serious about retooling, that's a move that could help them stack some future assets. When we look ahead at what the Raiders might actually do next, it really comes down to how this front office views the rest of the season. Are they ready to admit that this roster isn't built to compete right now? Or do they still believe there's enough here to make a late push? Because if they're being honest with themselves, the record speaks for itself. Sitting near the bottom of the standings, the path to the playoffs looks almost impossible. That's why the stretch before the trade deadline feels so important. Every decision made in the next couple of weeks could define the direction of this franchise for the next few years. If General Manager John Spytek and Coach Pete Carroll decide to move players, they'll be doing it with one thing in mind: building a foundation for the future. There's no point in keeping veterans who aren't part of the long-term plan. The Raiders need draft capital, they need salary cap flexibility, and they need to start stacking young talent that fits the identity they're trying to create. It's easier said than done, though. You can't just blow up a roster and expect results. You have to move the right pieces at the right time. And right now, all signs point toward a few guys being expendable if the price is right. Jakobi Meyers, as we already talked about, is the name that keeps surfacing. He's too good to just sit on the bench, and there are contending teams that would love to add a reliable route runner like him. He's a crisp technician who moves the chains, wins on third down, and knows how to work the middle of the field. For Las Vegas, this is about maximizing value. You can't let a player walk in free agency next year for nothing. If a team calls offering a third-round pick, or even a fourth and some change, you probably take that deal. It's not that Meyers isn't talented. He absolutely is. But this team needs to think 2 or 3 years ahead. The Raiders' offense has been one of the most puzzling parts of this whole equation. The talent on paper doesn't look bad. They have a decent mix of young players and veterans, but it hasn't translated to consistent production. The quarterback situation has created confusion. One week it feels like Geno Smith might bounce back. The next week it feels like the entire unit is out of sync. You've got Kenny Pickett waiting in the wings, trying to prove himself, and Aiden O'Connell stuck as the third guy in the room, wondering what his future looks like. If you're O'Connell, you probably want a chance to play somewhere. That's why it wouldn't be surprising if his name start popping up in real trade talk soon. And the offensive line, man, that's another puzzle. You can't build a strong offense without stability up front, and the Raiders haven't found that consistency yet. Dylan Parham has been one of the few dependable blockers, but he's in a contract year and might test the market regardless. Then there's Jackson Powers-Johnson, who feels like he's caught in some strange limbo. Every time he's on the field, he looks like he belongs. He's tough, plays with heart, and has that I'll take your lunch money kind of attitude that offensive lines need. But for some reason, he's been in and out of the rotation, and nobody outside the facility really knows why. If the coaching staff truly doesn't see him as a future starter, that's going to be one of the biggest mistakes this organization could make. Letting go of a guy like JPJ before he even gets a real chance would haunt them for years. The defense, meanwhile, feels like it's standing on a thin line between promise and frustration. You watch certain drives and think, this unit can hang with anyone. And then, within minutes, everything falls apart. Missed tackles, blown assignments, lack of communication. It's a defense with individuals who have talent, but they're not playing as one. That's why names like Adam Butler and Malcolm Kuntz keep surfacing in trade talks. Teams around the league know that Las Vegas has some players who could make an immediate impact in a different system. If they can get even mid-round picks for them, it might be time to pull the trigger and reset that defensive front. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing, and all eyes are on Las Vegas, where whispers suggest the Raiders might have just pulled off a move that could reshape their red zone offense. Sources close to the team indicate that tight end Mike Gesicki, known for his uncanny ability to find the end zone, has reportedly agreed to terms with the Silver and Black. While nothing is official yet, insiders are already speculating that this could be the missing piece. John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, has been searching for to transform the Raiders' scoring efficiency. Gesicki, who has built a reputation as a red zone specialist, could be an automatic target when the team inches within striking distance. Imagine the possibilities. A quarterback needing just a foot of separation in the end zone, and there's Gesicki, arms outstretched, waiting to make it happen. Raiders fans who have endured years of inconsistent passing production near the goal line may finally have something to cheer about. The chatter in Vegas sports bars is electric, with locals and insiders alike predicting a new era where red zone trips no longer feel like wasted drives. While the official paperwork may still be in the works, the notion of Gesicki in silver and black jerseys has already sent social media into a frenzy. Analysts are dissecting the potential formations, teasing out how he might line up with Davante Adams or even create mismatches against smaller defensive backs. Even casual fans are catching wind of the excitement. If this rumor pans out, the Raiders' offense could suddenly feel more dynamic and less predictable. Of course, nothing is set in stone, and the NFL is a league built on surprises. But the energy surrounding Gesicki's rumored arrival is palpable. Could this be the signing that finally turns the Raiders' red zone struggles into one of their greatest strengths? Only time will tell, but for now, the Vegas rumor mill is alive, and the thought of Mike Gesicki automatically turning tight window throws into touchdowns is enough to keep fans buzzing well into the preseason. One thing's for certain. If this deal materializes, the Raiders' end zone could quickly become a place where legends are made. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.